Well, good morning and welcome to the primary day edition of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We already have quite a few waves, as you can see, but I've got a very special wave that I received this morning. We've got, and I'm adding it right now, a wave all the way from Alaska. Our friends Brian and Chris, big fans of the program, watching us in Alaska. That is a first. Yes, I will get at some point a map and start putting pins in it to mark all the area. We had a wave from the Philippines. We get them from everywhere. Frankly Speaking, international, and now in Alaska as well. How exciting. We've got a lot of comments to read this morning, but it is primary day. Please remember to get out and vote, and I will be hammering home that point throughout the program. We're going to go through the areas in both Chemung and Steuben. And if you have any questions throughout this morning's broadcast about the primaries, please text or leave me a message at that number, and I'll do my best to answer your questions because it is vital that you go out and vote. We had so many of the candidates on this program. You can go to our YouTube page or go to WYDCTV.com and find those past interviews if you want to make sure that you go in to the voting booth the most informed you can possibly be. But again, if you have any questions, please reach out and we'll get to the areas that are, for lack of a better word, affected by the primary vote today. But let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. All right, first up, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Women have a thicker skin than the Democrats give us credit for. Why are they picking a subject they really haven't got a clue about? The only thing I can think of is they use AOC as their role model. I'm sorry, but real women do not need anybody speaking for us. We know where to dot the I's and cross the T's. MAGA strong. Well, thank you very much for that comment. And I agree. It is very weird. And the left has a history of this, lecturing various groups and thinking that they know. It's very often a white liberal, very often white male liberal, lecturing various groups about how it should be done or how you should feel. So what a great point. Thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. Hello, Frank. Watching the news and about the ceasefire. I'm cautiously optimistic, but if it's too good to be true, it normally is. I pray this is going to work, but how do you trust the beast being Iran, I believe? Yes, it is. There's already a little back and forth. The ceasefire has been announced by the president. We're going to talk about that, what he had to say yesterday. There has been a little bit of back and forth on that ceasefire already. That not really a surprise, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Comment from a different viewer. Yesterday we watched your show, and we are wondering if you got scoped or if that is a shiner. I didn't know what you're talking about. I think what that is, is getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know I don't get in, rarely do I get in any bar fights, but if I do, you know I'm going to win it. Thank you for that. No, nothing, neither scoped nor punched in the face. Just tired. All right, a wave and a comment. Going to be another hot one. Thank goodness I can cool off in my pool thanks to the wonderful deal I got at Hesselson's. Thank you very much. We got great comments starting out this morning. I love that one. Yes. Boy, I bet you some of you are wishing you would have listened as I was praising Hesselson's in the winter. You would be set now for this kind of weather with your pool. So I love that. Thanks to the wonderful deal I got at Hesselson's. Well, thank you, viewer. Okay, so yesterday, Donald Trump, before announcing the ceasefire, tweeted out or truthed out, Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I'm pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There's actually a piece, and we're going to get to it a little bit later on, but I loved the way that the New York Post editorial board put this headline: Trump totally vindicated for his attention to this matter. And that is when you know he sent out an important tweet, or whatever you want to call it, a truth, when he has that line at the end. But Trump announced yesterday that Israel and Iran have agreed to ceasefire ending 12-day war. Truthing out, congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions. For 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start this ceasefire. And upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful. On the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. So that was announced yesterday. There is a little bit. Now, Israel has said that they have agreed to it. Iran did in some way. But Trump later, I guess you could say early this morning, announced the need, if you will, to not violate the ceasefire, saying the ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. This is in all caps. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Netanyahu has said Israel has agreed to the proposal for ceasefire. Israel thanks President Trump and the United States for their support and defense and their participation in eliminating the Iranian nuclear threat. In light of the achievement of the operation's goal and in full coordination with President Trump, Israel agreed to the president's proposal for a mutual ceasefire. Trump said on Tuesday a ceasefire between Israel and Iran was now in place. So that's a little bit of where we're at. Now, there was little bit of back and forth already. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said he ordered the military to respond forcefully to Iran's violation of the ceasefire agreement with high-intensity strikes against regime targets in the heart of Tehran. Now, this broke about an hour and a half ago. In light of Iran's blatant violation of the ceasefire declared by the President of the United States and the launching of missiles towards Israel, and in accordance with the Israeli government's policies to respond forcefully to any violation, I've instructed the IDF, in coordination with the Prime Minister, to continue the intense operations striking regime targets and terror infrastructure in Tehran. This comes in continuation of the actions carried out yesterday, he continued. The Israeli Defense Forces also said it will strike with force after it accused Iran of violating a ceasefire agreement to end the conflict. In light of the severe violation of the ceasefire carried out by the Iranian regime, we will strike with force, they said. So yes, there is still a little bit of back and forth. Now, the senior Iranian security official said no missile was fired at Israel after the ceasefire went into effect. They did say, however, if Israel makes a mistake, all occupied territories will be attacked, just like an hour before the war stopped. So a little bit back and forth, but right now, I think a positive direction for this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to keep our eyes. Wow, look at all these waves coming in. We're going to keep our eyes on the news this morning. If you happen to be watching and seeing something on your phone or something come through, please feel free to send it along, but I'll be checking during breaks. Now, J.D. Vance touted the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program, saying on special report on Fox News that, first of all, the president, without, knock on wood, having a single American casualty, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. We are now in a place where we aren't a week ago. A week ago, Iran was very close to having a nuclear weapon. Now Iran is incapable of building a nuclear weapon with the equipment they have because it has been destroyed. Because we destroyed it, excuse me. Vance told Fox News chief political anchor Brett Baer, look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through the support of the terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think we look back, we will say that the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region. Now, he also said that the Iranian uranium, well, I'll try saying that a lot, Iran uranium is buried. Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon. When asked if the U.S. knew the location of Iran's roughly 400, right around 882 pounds, let's do it that way, of uranium enriched to 60% purity. That is below the weapons-grade uranium threshold of 92% purity, but experts say the nuclear fuel currently held by Iran could be used for nefarious purposes. So that's kind of a quick update. I know it was very impressive that the missiles that Iran sent, Trump indicating that Iran let us know. I don't know if that was a phone call or if that was they're just not very good at it, to J.D. Vance's point, and it was known before it began. They were able to intercept, I think it was 13 out of 14, with one being allowed to kind of go its own way because it was not going to pose a threat. Republicans are congratulating Trump amid the ceasefire announcement. As kind of goes without saying, Democrats hold back applause. We're going to tell you how the media is trying to scare you on this. We're also going to go through some opinion pieces, both from the left and the right, that I think you're going to find very important. Let's talk about what the Republicans had to say before we take our first break. The Representative Andy Ogles said Trump is the greatest foreign policy mastermind in American history. Give him the Nobel Peace Prize now. Peace through strength, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson exclaimed on his platform. Nancy May saying President Trump just did what no other president could do. All it took was the American people electing Donald J. Trump, and the world is safer for it. Ceasefire in all caps. Marlon Stutzman, Republican from Indiana, saying it's huge if this sticks, which I don't know why it wouldn't. Once Iran saw and heard what we're capable of doing with our B-2 bombers and our bunker busters, it not only sends a message to them, but it sends a message to the greater part of the world that this president, he will negotiate with you. He wants to find a way to do this, but if you're not going to negotiate, there are going to be consequences. So there is a quick kind of overview of where we're at this morning. We're going to try to keep you as up to date on this as possible. Obviously, there is breaking news. A ceasefire announced late yesterday by the president. The president, again, reiterating this morning, do not break the ceasefire. There is a little back and forth of whether or not Iran already broke that ceasefire, and Israel threatening to respond. We'll be talking about that. We'll be reading your comments. Already having a great morning with comments and waves. I appreciate that. Don't forget it's primary day. We're going to read to you which areas are affected by that so you know whether or not to go out and vote. But please do. It's from 9 till 8. Excuse me. Is it 9 to? No. Let me get the exact times for you because I had it written down, and I want to say it begins relatively early this morning when you can go out and vote. Let me see. I have it right here in front of me. 6 a.m. That's what it is. I thought so. So you could actually be voting now. I'd recommend that you wait until after the program, but 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Get your last minute maybe endorsements in. Any of your questions about primaries, as we talked about with former congressman, current assemblyman, and in this instance, it's important to note the chairman of the Steuben County Republican Committee, Joe Sempolinski. He noted how important the votes are because very often it is, unfortunately, low voter turnout when it comes to primaries. And again, we've been asking people to vote now 3 times in essentially a month, 2 school budgets, and now the primary. So it is going to be a low turnout. So if you want to look at it percentage-wise, this your vote packs quite a punch. You have a lot of say in who your next legislator is, who your next city court judge, things like that. And Shimong, we're going to read all of those to you. But if you have any questions, any comments on the primaries, love to hear from you. We're going to talk more about Iran and Israel. When we come back, stay with us. Just getting warmed up on the primary day edition of Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Learning about elder abuse is more important than ever before. Financial scams, neglect, and physical abuse of our seniors are happening every day. Find the right solutions by talking and reaching out to our seniors. If you suspect abuse, call Steuben County Office for the Aging at 607-664-2298 or SteubenCountyNY.gov/235. Brought to you by the Steuben County Office for the Aging.
The Twin Tiers' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I watch Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam and our picturesque view of historic Market Street, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning on this primary day. We're going to be talking. Here we go. Good morning, Frank, and good morning, Alaska. Yes. I like that comment. If you are just tuning in, we do have viewers in Alaska today. Our good friends Brian and Chris. We appreciate it. And they all say hi to you in Alaska, Brian and Chris. Okay, so the media is in full scare mode. I saw this from USA Today. It was posted yesterday, so perhaps it's been on your radar. Could there be a military draft? Fears rise after U.S. bombs Iran. Now, this is not a surprise that they would go this direction in an attempt to scare you, to change the polling on this. Heightened tensions following the United States' June 21st attack on Iranian nuclear facilities has brought the specter of a military draft to the forefront of the minds of many. There are currently no bills before Congress to institute a draft. However, the Washington Post reported last year that influential former administration officials, as well as some GOP lawmakers, have publicly suggested a national service mandate. Then, and this is what you'd call a filler piece, but also a piece to, again, scare the younger people. The younger people that are not, and I don't want to paint all young people with a broad brush, but some of the younger people that are already in the streets rioting or having these anti-Semitic protests, this is speaking to them so that they can have a heightened level of fear and protest even more against the president at one of these no king events. Now, so they go, when was the last time the draft was used? Who would be in charge of reinstating the draft? In 2015, then New York Democratic Representative Charles Rangel introduced a bill to reinstate a draft alongside a war tax bill to point out the inequity of war, as then President Barack Obama attempted to galvanize support for the authorization for use of military force against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. So again, if it is reinstated, back in 2015, Charlie Rangel, who just passed away not that long ago, put forth a bill to reinstate a draft. Okay. Who would be eligible for a draft? Currently, all men between 18 to 25 are required to register with the Selective Service System. Additional drafts would follow for those turning 21 through 25. Then 19 and 18 would occur if additional soldiers were required. Who would be ineligible for the draft? We're not going to go through all that. So could there be a military draft? Of course, the scare tactics coming from the media. Then you have the idea that they keep pushing. And I'm not suggesting this isn't a fear, and this is not something we should be mindful of. But this has been the common theme since the 21st. Sleeper cells. Threat of Iranian attacks in the United States has never been higher, according to officials. The threat of attacks by Iranian sleeper cells inside the United States has never been higher, officials say, after Tehran warned it would activate agents if President Trump bombed its nuclear sites. The Iranians are believed to have sent a message to U.S. diplomats during the G7 meeting in Canada last week, raising the threat of terrorist attacks on American soil in retaliation for any military intervention. Now, I will say, and the draft article, I think you can just throw that away. But I do think you have to take seriously the idea of sleeper cells, only because we've had open porous borders for 4 years under the Biden administration. We don't know the gotaways, right? We don't know who came into this country, unfortunately. Now, to his credit, President Trump said at the time, any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight after the bombing of the nuclear facilities. But that is another common headline from the media. And then CNN posts a piece, and I don't accept this poll. You know, very often we see polls being misused to kind of move the needle in a certain direction. According to CNN, a majority of Americans disapprove of Trump's Iran airstrikes. Americans disapprove of the strikes 56 to 44%, according to CNN's poll, with strong disapproval outpacing the share who strongly approve. Most distrust Trump's decision-making on the use of force in Iran, with about 6 in 10 worried that the strikes will increase the Iranian threat to the U.S. So the idea is, according to CNN poll, and according to CNN, the American people want to do what we've always known to do, which is, I guess, coddling away Iran, let them build a nuclear bomb, and then we'll be better off, and the Middle East will be better off than if we strike quickly. The threat is more now because of the attack on the nuclear facilities than if they actually had a nuke, is what we're being told by CNN. So your thoughts. We'll do an informal poll right here on Frankly Speaking. Pro or con the strike. I know there's people that are apprehensive. I have no problem with that. But I find it kind of hard to believe about 56 to 44%. Sharp partisan divides cut through nearly every question asked in the survey. Democrats are broadly opposed to the strikes, as most Republicans support them, though younger GOP supporters and Republican-leaning independents are more skeptical than others in their party. So that's kind of a quick overview of the media's reaction to this. The draft's going to come back. There's going to be sleeper cells. You're worried about the airstrikes. We're going to tell you what some Democrats had to say, what some op-eds had to say. We do have other topics to get to on top of that. We've got a local issue that I know you're going to find very interesting. We also have a couple New York State issues because today is primary day. That also means it's primary day in New York City, where you have the mayor's race. Now, the way with this, the way they do their voting there, their ranked voting, I don't think, and maybe I read this wrong, I don't think we'll actually know who won that for quite some time. It's not going to be tomorrow morning. It made it sound like it could be weeks, not hours. Not that I'm sure you're going to lose any sleep over whether Andrew Cuomo wins or not. It would be nice to know. But we do have very important local races, and we tried our best to get as many of the candidates on as possible. You can find them at WYDCTV.com or on our YouTube page if you want to catch up before you head to the voting booth. If you do have any questions about today's primaries, and we're going to read probably in the 7 o'clock hour, top of the hour, which areas are affected by this, which areas need to go out and vote in the primary. But please, if you are in one of those areas, please get out and vote. Turnout for the primaries are so historically low, and these are such important races that your vote matters. Your vote always matters. It always counts. But this is a big one, folks, so please get out there and vote. All right, and again, if you have any questions, text that number on the bottom of the screen. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want, at the price you want, knowing Nissan is here for you at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on Rogue or Pathfinder, or get a low $239 per month lease on Rogue.
At Simmons Rockwell Nissan, you'll find brand new 2025 Nissan Rogue SV all-wheel drives for only $30,999. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell.
Catch Twin local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local. Stay up to date on Twin Tiers local news by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got it all on our website, daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. Follow us today at Big Fox News on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and as that astute viewer said, they're glad they got that great deal from Hesselson's on that pool as the weather scorching out there. So, continuing, this is just a quick update. Do you remember there was some back and forth about did Trump contact Democrats, et cetera, et cetera? Well, the White House on Monday insisted it called Democrat House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries to give him a heads up about that airstrike in Iran, but said he didn't pick up his phone. This was on Fox and Friends. Carolyn Levitt said, first of all, we did make bipartisan calls, pushing back on what she called fake news, that Democrats weren't given advance notice about the attacks, while also contending the administration was obligated to do so. The White House made calls to congressional leaders. They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached, Levitt said. She said that the CNN report that claimed the White House did not give a heads up to Democrats is just completely false. A source familiar with Jeffries' situation told the Post his office received a no details notification, similar to what other Democrats were given shortly before the strikes were announced. The source said the notification came on an unsecure line and that Jeffries did not get key details or a fuller classified briefing about the strikes before they occurred. The politician's office did not respond to a question about why Jeffries did not answer the call. Jeffries then held a press conference, griping, "We haven't gotten an initial briefing from the White House. All we received from the White House was a so-called courtesy call with no explanation as to the rationale for the decision that was taken that could have serious consequences for the American people." All right. Oh, by the way, And I realized I forgot to read your comments. I'm going to get to those in just a second. I didn't mean to jump ahead here, but I've got to mention this. So they mentioned Carolyn Levitt. The Irish Star. Looks like a tabloid, but this was being presented by Drudge Report, because Drudge has went very much never Trump. But gaslighting Carolyn Levitt begins to crack as MAGA trolls turn on her. I tried to read it. It's kind of a confusing article, but what they're saying is she's getting picked on by just so many people, which I don't believe. I think she's a very strong, powerful force in the White House. So yes, of course, the left is going to go to their name calling and critiques of whatever, her appearance, whatever, to try to hurt her. But they're claiming it's finally getting to her. I don't believe that. But they have, this whole piece quotes people like this Marcotti, who said, Levitt has weak and mealy mouth, most lame assertion that she's a good Christian, which is hard to square with all the lying. These debates, especially if witnessed by younger women who haven't fully made up their minds about their political identities, help to instill a sense that being a handmaiden of patriarchy is cringeworthy. Well, you know what's cringeworthy? Number one, the use of the term cringeworthy. Number two, a sentence like a handmaiden of patriarchy. Could that have been a more cliche, woke statement? So what the concept, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because I think Carolyn Levitt's doing a fantastic job. Your thoughts that she is weak in some way, that young women are going to tune in to these press conferences and say, watch a strong woman like her and say, boy, I can't do it. I'm going to be a Democrat. But the comments came as the press secretary received a ton of backlash after posting a photo of herself and Trump whispering together in the White House. Discussing how many lies you're going to tell at the next press briefing, sneered a second person. A third person wrote, do you hear the lies that are coming out of your mouth? You'll be held accountable for it all. So this article wants us to believe that the person that we see up there and the way she answers those questions with poise, with strength, with confidence, that 3 random comments from complete strangers that are clearly never going to vote for Trump or any Republican, that's enough to break her, that she's cracking. The media knows no ends as to their desperation, do they? All right, when we come back, we're going to go through some of the comments from Democrats, some of the comments from Republicans as well, and some op-eds. I know I didn't read your comments. I'm not skipping them. I apologize. I had it hidden on my screen. We will read them all when we come back. I think there's 2 or 3. Keep them coming in. I'll read them when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
I'm Marianne Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson Studio, having a blast this morning, as it is primary day. So let's go to the Stu Ben Senior Services section of our program. Stu Ben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. First up, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. After Iran shot missiles at our air base and we intercepted, I bet Trump laid the law down, stop the war, or be obliterated. Though, Mark, I like that. I'm going to read it with the typo, the autocorrect, I should say. I bet Trump laid the law down, stop the war, or be obligated. I knew what you meant, though. I appreciate it, Mark. Autocorrect is quite something. Next up, Democrats seem disappointed World War III didn't start, or did start and ended too quickly, or has been moved to Ukraine, or China hasn't invaded Taiwan. So darn confusing. And Trump keeps winning, making America great again, making Democrats cry again. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. This is from Ken. Ken writes in, I'm sure that the Democrats are frantically talking to each other and their rhino friends, saying that Trump won again when that sissy Iran backed down from a fight with America. So now they have to push the idea of Trump possibly causing sleeper cell attacks on our soil from the Iranians they invited into our country. And they are reiterating that the big, beautiful bill can't pass. They must pin the largest tax increase in American history on Trump. Great points across the board, Ken. Thank you very much. And finally, one last comment. Tell us the poll hours, Frank. Well, I'm glad you asked. I mentioned it earlier at the top of the hour. It is 6A to 9P. So I'd say as soon as, I would even say, this is how important I believe it to be. If the only time you have to vote is normally your Frankly Speaking time, I would say vote anyway and watch Frankly Speaking later and a rerun, because I think it's that important to vote. So 6A to 9P. The areas affected, and I know that word has kind of a negative connotation, but you would need to vote in the towns or city of Chemung, city of Elmira, Horseheads, Van Etten, or Veteran. Now, that is only Republicans. So this only applies to Republicans. And then in Stu Ben, towns participating. That's the word they use. I like that better. Towns participating in the 2025 Republican primary: Bath, Cameron, Campbell, Canisteo, Caton, Cohocton, the town of Corning, Irwin, Hornby, Prattsburg, Rathbone, Thurston, Troopsburg, Tuscarora, and Wheeler. So again, the vote today, get out and vote. If you have any questions about your candidates, if you want to put in a last-minute endorsement on this program while you're voting for who you're voting for, feel free. It is a very important day. It's very important for you to get out and have your voice be heard. We talked about this a million times on the program, but I know we talk about the national scene. We talk about the Harris-Trump. We talk about the gubernatorial race. But nothing affects your life more on a day-to-day basis than the local races and the local leaders in power. You may not realize it sometimes, but it really does. So these are important races. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Okay, continuing with our discussion on Israel and Iran, some Democrats have been weighing in on this, and Republicans. Representative Jasmine Crockett. Now, Jasmine Crockett is kind of an up-and-coming star, kind of in line with an AOC. Now, Jasmine Crockett got into a little bit of hot water, though really worked for her when it came to fundraising and support from the far left. But she uses some language sometimes that some would say maybe incites violence, or at least fans the flames of this kind of divide. Well, during a live stream on Instagram, Representative Jasmine Crockett weighed in on the Iranian strike, saying, "I go back in on Monday. You could have hollered at us on Monday if you truly felt like there was something like there is nothing that will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place, and it needed to take place without the consultation of the Congress." When the interviewer, or the aide, asked asked how the Senate could make them accountable for what they're doing, Crockett replied, "The systems have broken down. The systems have broken down because people have legitimately decided that they would rather serve him than serve the people that put him into office. Like, I don't really have any, good answers for you, except for the fact that legitimately everything that he does is, against the law. Like, he just breaks the law," before claiming she was not saying these things because I'm a Democrat. Instead, the Congresswoman stated that her criticisms come from being a black woman in America who just happens to be educated enough to know what the law is. Again, not a lot of concern when Obama was doing the same exact thing, or Bill Clinton. We talked about that yesterday with Jonathan Turley's piece. But she's upset that Trump should have hollered at Congress before Iran strike. Again, if I could, Jasmine Crockett, a rising star in the Democrat Party, making a lot of money off of her statements. I just want to, again, read her concerns. This is an exact quote from Representative Jasmine Crockett. And I quote, I don't really have any, good answers for you, except for the fact that legitimately everything that he does is, against the law. He just breaks the law. All right, moving along. Senator Jeff Merkley was on The Source yesterday, and he said that the American strikes on Iran moved up the time frame for setting back nuclear Iran's program. But Israel had made it very clear that with or without the United States, they could effectively destroy these facilities. They would have done it with 30,000-pound bombs, but they expressed great confidence that they could do so. I don't think that this has changed the ultimate course of the dynamic. He also argued that President Trump should use his leverage with Netanyahu to have a ceasefire. So the strikes didn't change, according to Merkley's opinion, didn't change the Middle East dynamic, just moved up the time frame. Democrat Representative Greg Stanton from Arizona said that Iran's leaders should be skeptical of Trump, because skeptical of his credibility because he pulled out of the Iran deal, and it appears that all of those negotiations recently were subterfuge to get Iran to not be expecting the secret attack. That's good. Yes, tell our enemies what they should. Hey, did you notice this? Yeah, they really don't like the success in all this, do they? Where was I lost one of the pieces because unless I jumped ahead on it. Yeah, I did. I had them stuck together there. Lisa Murkowski said that there are many questions about the success of Trump's military strike on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. I would just caution that we are all seeing things in real time. There are many, many questions that I think we have. Certainly those of us in Congress are going to be seeking answers tomorrow at this classified briefing. I think that they will be very, very instructive, but I think we all recognize the direction that Iran was heading with building up their nuclear capabilities was a place that was not acceptable. So the decision to strike when the president determines, so you can do a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking here, trying to figure out what was the right time. Representative Jamie Raskin, you know that name. Raskin said on MSNBC yesterday, I couldn't read the whole thing. Well, let me take a step back. This was the question that was asked of him. You had Representative AOC calling the president's decision to bomb Iran without authorization a grave violation of the Constitution, saying it is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Just real quick, do you agree? Raskin said, I couldn't read the whole thing, but it sounded like I agreed with that it's an absolute violation of the Constitution. What a weak way of putting that. Not just coming right out and saying yes at first. I couldn't read the whole thing, but it sounds like I agree with that, and it's an absolute violation of the Constitution. So the host said, it's the grounds for impeachment piece, and I want you to weigh in on that right there at the end. Raskin said, well, without saying what anybody should do in any particular situation, undoubtedly a violation of the war powers of Congress, the usurpation of the war powers of Congress would be an impeachable offense, would be a high crime and misdemeanor. I mean, you know, Israel said in what Israel did on its own, we set them back 2 or 3 years, so that's not an emergency. Remember, the president can only assert the power to use military in a context in which there's an imminent threat to us, and that clearly wasn't there. So we can add this to a very long list of things. But obviously, talk of impeachment today, when we're in the minority and we can't even get Republicans to vote on us on a single bill to try to restore sanity, is somewhat hypothetical. But I'm with my friend AOC in saying that we've got to keep a very strict catalog of all the violations of the Constitution that are taking place. When we come back, just to tie in with that, so 2 people at least, AOC and Raskins, calling for impeachment. Well, do we have? I don't have time. We'll get to that in just a moment. Stay with us. I'm going to read your comments when we come back. We got a lot going on. Whew. I don't know if we can get to all of it. We're going to talk about some local issues as well. Don't forget, it is primary day. Make sure you get out and vote. If you do vote before the end of the program, let me know how it went. If there's a decent turnout, it opened at 6 o'clock. Just love to hear your thoughts. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Trust your smile to Dr. Hench's at either Watkins Glen, Elmira, Horseheads, or Elkland Family Dentistry. All 4 locations provide cutting-edge technology to make sure your visit is comfortable and stress-free. Dr. Hench's offers treatment in all areas of dentistry, including same-day crowns, implants, root canals, oral surgery, and treatment for all ages. For the best dental care in the region, trust Dr. Hench's and his staff at Watkins Glen, Horseheads, Elmira, and Elkland Family Dentistry. Call any one of his offices today or visit them online for more information.
This June, learning about elder abuse is more important than ever before. Financial scams, neglect, and physical abuse of our seniors are happening every day. Find the right solutions by talking and reaching out to our seniors. If you suspect abuse, call Steuben County Office for the Aging at 607-664-2298 or SteubenCountyNY.gov/235. Brought to you by the Steuben County Office for the Aging.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Comment number 1, all the Democrats will be proven wrong soon. This deal will require verification that they are they now 0 and 12 on what flag to carry. Yeah, they are 0 and 12 on what flag to carry. Panama, Mexico, Canada, Palestine, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Ukraine, Iran, El Salvador, Venezuela, and they even hung the North Korean flag on the White House fence. Yes, the optics. They just don't quite understand the optics on the left, do they? Comment from a different viewer. I think these people that say that it's against the Constitution, maybe they ought to read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, I see that Hochul announced the construction of a new nuclear power plant in New York. The Dems must have green lighted the plant to get ahead of Trump's push to build new nuclear plants in the U.S. The Greenies must be beside themselves with anger. How could their Democrat friends betray them like this? And they're probably meeting right now to see what they can do to make sure the Democrats don't change their minds on fracking to try to gain back favor with New Yorkers. Oh, good point. You think if Elise Stefanik declares and Hochul gets nervous, you think we could actually finally get fracking in New York? Just quickly, Betsy McKay says Democrats' unhinged impeachment shrieks like AOC and Jamie Raskins expose their ignorance and their hypocrisy. Their Trump derangement syndrome is blinding them. And you see that in the media as well. Bernie Sanders called Trump's strike grossly unconstitutional, a claim repeated by Representative Jim Himes and GOP Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who has sparred with Trump on other issues. New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a chorus of other Democrats are calling for Trump's impeachment. New York City's Democrat mayoral candidates, for whom Trump hatred is a litmus test, are piling on. Yes, if you watch that debate, there was. Who could hate Trump more? Zohran Mamdani blasted Trump's unconstitutional military action on social media. Brad Lander slammed the president's reckless and unconstitutional strikes. These claims are crazy. Prior presidents, most prominently Democrats Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, struck foreign targets without consulting Congress first and even waged hostilities for months at a time without congressional authorization. No one called for their impeachment. Representative Nancy Pelosi, who defended Obama's non-congressionally blessed military operations in Libya when she was House Minority Leader, slammed Trump, saying he ignored the Constitution. Call her the queen of hypocrisy. As for ignoring the Constitution, that's simply false. Article 2 states the president shall be commander-in-chief. Trump clearly acted within his Article 2 power. True, the document's Article 1 gives Congress the power to declare war, but the United States hasn't fought a declared war since World War II. Yet the nation has waged at least 125 foreign military operations since then. Declarations of war are clearly a thing of the past. The Constitution contains a built-in tension between the branches, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to know all that. But Trump's strikes against Iran's nuclear capabilities took the cudgel out of the Ayatollah's hands. No matter how Iran responds, its threat will be throttled now that the bully has been denuked. Did you see a former National Security Council official from the Bill Clinton administration praised this move by the president, and also claimed that the former Vice President Kamala Harris would not have had the courage or fortitude to strike Iran's nuclear program? Yeah, I think that comes as no doubt. Biden didn't. I don't think anybody, even a strong Harris supporter, would suggest that she would do that. But again, the media is trying to present this as if everybody's against these strikes. But I'm not a blind tribalist, and am perfectly comfortable praising President Trump for bold and courageous action in support of America's core national interest, as he took last night, said Jamie Meltz, a vocal critic of Trump and a self-described Harris voter. Although I believe electing Kamala Harris would have been better for our democracy and society, I also believe VP Harris would not have had the courage or fortitude to take such an essential step as the president took last night. I agree. I think that almost goes without saying. Even Joe Scarborough defends Trump's bombing of Iran. Hillary Clinton, any president, would have felt compelled to take that strike. I disagree. Biden didn't. Harris wouldn't have. He said he's not championing either side, but argued that many past presidents and even former Democrat nominee and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton likely would have made the same decision. I find it hard to believe that Bush 41, Bush 43, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, go down the list. Any president wouldn't have felt compelled to take that strike. Why hadn't they? What would Monday look like if he hadn't been moved? What would Monday look like if he hadn't have moved? If Iran wasn't already a 60% enrichment of uranium and ability to create nuclear weapons in a short matter of time, right? He quoted Henry Kissinger, saying, Henry Kissinger famously said that when you're sitting in the White House and you try to make a decision on foreign policy, the possibility of war, you're never handed a good decision and a bad decision. You're handed two very difficult choices, and the president made that choice. Well, there you go. So ex-Clinton official applauds Trump. Joe Scarborough somewhat applauds Trump. We've got another piece. But don't forget, I know we're talking international stories so far, but we do have some local stories. It is primary day. Your predictions on the mayoral race in New York City. I'd love to hear locally your endorsements, if you will, or maybe just who you think you're going to support, or your reasoning behind who you're going to vote on, or if you're going to vote or if not vote. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please. And if you don't want me to read them on the air, if you just have a question about primary day, and you maybe put them in parentheses or put "don't read on air," but I'll get back to you if there's a kind of more of a private question on that. All right, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking and wrapping up hour number 1 after this.
Your Elmira Pioneers are at home this Friday at historic Dunn Field. Friday, June 27th, it's free Hilliard Baseball Night. Come see what all the excitement is about. Friday, June 27th, free Hilliard Baseballs. Get your tickets early. Call 734-2690. Your Elmira Pioneers, a baseball tradition since 1888.
The Twins' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio on primary day. Again, polls are now open. They run till 9 p.m. So your way into work, your way into school, your lunch break, whatever. Make sure you get out and vote. And we got some comments coming in. I'm going to save them for the top of the hour, but keep those comments coming in. If you have any questions or any comments about the primaries, who you're supporting, the international stories we're talking about. I just have to mention this before we wrap up this hour, because I just love the headline, if nothing else. It's from the New York Post editorial board. And it's Trump totally vindicated for his attention to this matter. Disappointing hysterics across the political spectrum, from Trump-deranged lefties to pseudo-MAGA isolationists. President Donald Trump announced Monday evening that Iran and Israel have agreed in principle to a ceasefire. We know there's a little back and forth on that right now. But this follows Iran's nothing burger attack earlier in the day on a U.S. base in Qatar that barely stirred up the desert dust. A face-saving gesture in lieu of any greater response to Operation Midnight Hammer. That prompted the president to suggest Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same, which seemingly did the trick, and totally vindicates Trump's decision to take out Iran's nuclear sites, and so move this crisis towards a rapid end. Yes, plenty remains up in the air. For starters, will both sides indeed stop firing at midnight Tuesday? If they do, will it last? The odds grow if the deal somehow stretches to include Tehran's terror proxies, especially if it means Hamas throws in the towel and turns over the remaining hostages, with its disarmed fighters going into exile far from Israel's border. Then, too, it's not yet clear just how far back the U.S.-Israel strikes have set back Iran's nuclear weapons program. Maybe it's decades, or perhaps the mission will need repeating in just a few years. And we see no sign that Tehran has forsworn revenge attacks, say a series of assassinations by those much rumored sleeper cells. Even with those questions outstanding, Monday brought a fine put down of all those who fretted about escalation on Sunday. Iran's rulers realized that they had no good moves now except to cut their losses and pull back and hope something will eventually break their way. Cross your fingers that everyone else in the Middle East can go straight to building a better future. On that note, wrapping up hour number one of this primary day edition of Frankly Speaking. Get your comments in. Get your questions in. If you have any questions about the primary, again, the polls are now open and running till 9 p.m. We've got a local story that you're really going to find interesting. Maybe talk a little bit about the mayoral race. Not much there, but they are saying that it's essentially a tie between Cuomo and the socialist Mamadani. So, anyway. Wrapping up hour number one. Stay with us. We'll be back with hour number two after this.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name.
Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
Catch Twins local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local.
It's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Frankly Speaking, or from the Hesselson studio here on Frankly Speaking. Sorry, so many great comments coming in. I'm getting distracted by everyone's, and that's a good problem to have. Today is primary day. Polls are now open. Do not forget to get out and vote. You have until 9 o'clock in the areas that are participating. And these are all Republican primaries, so you need to be registered Republican. If you're in any of these towns or cities, please remember to vote. In Steuben County, it's Bath, Cameron, Campbell, Canisteo, Caton, Cohocton, the town of Corning, Irwin, Hornby, Prattsburg, Rathbone, Thurston, Troopsburg, Tuscarora, and Wheeler. If you are in Chemung, it's the town of Chemung, City of Elmira, Horseheads, Vanette, and Veteran. Sorry. I feel like I'm saying that wrong this morning, but you know where you're at. If you are in any of those areas, please feel free. Not feel free. I would say please vote. We got a lot of great comments coming in. We got such astute viewers. Okay. First up, Jack writes in. Oh, yeah, by the way, this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. And this is where we read viewer comments. First up, Jack writes, the Iran people are very determined and clever. We shouldn't be congratulating ourselves for poking a stick into a wasp nest. As long as they have the oil, the control of their media, even a regime change won't change anything unless the people rise up at all levels of control. However, overcoming phrases like death to America and the great Satan are woven tightly into their mindset, religion, and society. I don't see a clear path or strategy to enlighten them towards change. I feel it would take a massive global combined effort to make any noticeable change to the Iranian society. Thank you, Jack. Comment from a different viewer. Did Guam capsize yet? With the weight of all the military equipment, LOL. Good thing we flew from America. Yeah, what was that? Was that Hank Johnson who said that? Representative Hank Johnson? That infamous quote, concern that overpopulation on Guam, that it would tip over. I think he's still in office, if I'm not mistaken. Mark writes in, I hope the people remember the horrific crimes that Cuomo did as governor as they vote for New York City mayor. I couldn't agree more, Mark. That's why I think one of the reasons why they're calling it kind of a jump ball, that it's a tie between Cuomo and, let me just say, the second option, well, the person who's right neck and neck with Cuomo, Mamdani, he is an avowed far left socialist. He does not support Israel in any way, shape, or form. So it's kind of lose-lose, obviously, for the people of New York City. But I hope they remember Cuomo's crimes. I hope they remember what he did. The worst decision, I think, in the whole era of COVID, tragic decision, heartbreaking decision, which was to put COVID-positive patients in with our most vulnerable in nursing homes, leading to so many deaths, and then him trying to hide it, and then never once being apologetic. One other comment from a viewer, well, a couple of viewers actually mentioned this. They want to hear Jasmine Crockett again. One hit follows another. Jasmine Crockett coming out and talking on an Instagram post about Trump's decision to bomb the nuclear facilities. And in full disclosure, when I started reading the quote, I did not realize it was as bad as it turned out to be. So why not? I'll read it again. Sure. Like, and this is again, Representative a member of Congress, Jasmine Crockett. Quote, I don't really have any, good answers for you, except for the fact that legitimately, everything he does is, against the law. He just breaks the law. Okay. Again, primary day. Get your endorsements in. Get your comments in. Oh, yeah, this is a good comment from a different viewer. A different viewer writes in, it's absolutely lose-lose for New York City and New York State as a whole. Bad and worse. I agree, but it is, if you get out and vote in primary, it can be a win for Steuben County or Chemung County. We have some other updates, not updates, but some comments on Iran. But I want to get to a local issue. And feel free to change the topic with your comments at any time. But because today's primary day, I thought this was an interesting piece. Our friend Steve Sprague, he was on the program quite a while ago now, talking about this exact situation that now has kind of come to fruition, or at least reaching out to more people than just here on Frankly Speaking. And this is coming from the Hornell Sun, which the Hornell Sun does a great job. If you have an opportunity, check it out. It's become a part of my show prep every morning, doing really good work at the Hornell Sun. So Steve Sprague writes, and appropriate for today on primary day, he writes, this morning, June 23rd, so yesterday, I stood before the Steuben County Legislature to ask them to give us a better government. By all indications, they were underwhelmed with all 385 words I could squeeze in to the generous 3 minutes they allowed. I asked that they amend Article 3 of the Steuben County Charter, passed in 2013, to eliminate the section which directs the legislators to appoint a county manager as the county's chief administrator. I asked that they replace that section with a new section giving the voters the responsibility to elect a county executive to serve as the chief administrator. Elsewhere in this publication, and I'm going to read his quick speech in just a moment. But he said, over the past 2 years, most of the news you've gotten about Steuben County government has been about a lawsuit filed by Sheriff Jim Allard alleging he was treated improperly by the legislator. Last November, a state Supreme Court decision ruled in the sheriff's favor after finding that he was essentially being punished for disagreeing with the legislature's former chairman. The county used taxpayer dollars, thousands of them, to fight a lawsuit that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Sadly, political or power grab grudges are common almost everywhere these days. But as much as they can be blamed on individuals, there are better ways to guard against such events. In 2013, county voters were asked to approve adoption of a county charter to replace the old Board of Supervisors system. When that passed, the county earned greater home rule, releasing it from many of the ancient state laws that otherwise apply to counties. But only one form of charter was offered to voters, one in which the chief administrator of the county, the manager, is appointed by the legislature. Unlike Chemung and 17 other New York counties, which have adopted charters, voters in Steuben were not given a second choice to elect the county executive as chief administrator. I want that choice now. More history. Before I left the area for 3 more careers in Washington, I spent 2 years in Elmira as a newsman, and then, following the flood of 1972, 4 years as a reporter for the Star-Gazette. In 1973, when Chemung County placed a charter before the voters, the county offered both choices. I traveled New York extensively to compile a 10-part series carried in the paper before the elections that year, comparing the pluses and minuses of both forms. Happily, the elected executive form passed. It's been in place in Chemung now for 50 years and still working well. What I also confirmed all those decades ago and my subsequent careers in government was that local governments rely on managers chosen by the lawmakers, that they are more susceptible to political intrigue and the kinds of things that have caused problems in Steuben. Without the classic checks and balances, when separate legislative and executive branches exist, abuses can multiply. An elected chief administrator has to justify his or her decision and actions to be reelected. An appointed administrator has only to please those few who control his employment. The opportunities for compromised ethics multiply. In only one form of charter can voters remove a chief administrator by their votes. That's the form I'm urging the county to adopt now. At a minimum, I hope the Steuben legislature will at least study the issue. At best, pass a local law amending the charter to make it happen. As a Goldilocks choice, the legislature can require that a permissive referendum is placed before the county voters to let them, us, you and me, decide which charter we want. As an aside, I've never seen an electorate reject the chance to vote for its local government leaders. Seems to work for mayors, governors, presidents. I would add sheriffs. Mind you, voters often make the wrong choice, but it's easier to change your mind on one bad decision than try to replace a majority of the body that picks the manager. At worst, they'll ignore the request, just decide they don't want voters interfering with what they do. So don't blame the people who have led us to wasted tax dollars and internal strife. Blame the system that permitted it, and change that system. I expect few, if any, of the 17 county legislators now in office to express support for my amendment. They'll need encouragement from their voters and residents. I've offered to address my committee or unit of the legislature willing to consider the change. I'm also happy to discuss the proposal with any and all willing to consider it. He can be reached, and this again, Steve Sprague, at exec, E-X-E-C, in 2025 at yahoo.com. Now, just quickly, because this all ties in, and again, this is just a quick speech that he gave yesterday at the Steuben County Legislature. And this is I think, such a timely piece because today is primary day and we see some things happening at the county. Well, a lot of legislative candidates are up in today's primary races or are running for that position. So it's important for you to know. How many times have we had on this program the discussion? It's important that you know who you are voting for before you go in the booth. So please go today. I think we've done a pretty good job of getting you some of the candidates on this program so you're better informed. But here's Steve Sprague's speech from yesterday's legislative meeting. Thank you for this opportunity. I was born just over a block away from this building and raised in Bath. I returned here 3 years ago after retiring from almost 50 years in Washington. I'm here this morning to ask the legislature to take a bold step to give Steuben residents a much stronger role in their government. I'm asking you to amend Article 3 of the county charter to replace appointment of a county manager with the election of a county executive. Steuben voters were not offered a choice of elected or appointed administrators when the charter was presented in 2013. In these past months, this county has been publicly embarrassed by a series of events that should not have happened. A scathing state Supreme Court decision clearly recounts both political intrigue and breaches of professional ethics. While it's easy to blame individuals for these events, I believe they're symptoms of a systemic flaw in the structure of this county's government. Adoption of a charter strengthens home rule and self-determination for Steuben County. But of the 23 New York counties which have adopted charters, 18 have chosen elected executives as the chief county administrator. Those 18 counties now have clear divisions between administrators and lawmakers. While the elected choice may not always be ideal, residents are assured that they have the right to reverse that choice at the very next election. They also have a system with greater transparency and far fewer opportunities for political chicanery. The Supreme Court decision shines a glaring spotlight on the vulnerabilities of a system lacking the classic checks and balances separating executive and legislative roles. It's time to fix that. I ask you now to amend the charter by a vote of this body. To date, it's been changed at least 3 times to lengthen term limits for each of you without the permissive referendum the charter offers. But if you question the value of this change, I urge you to place this amendment on the next available ballot this year. And then he says that they can reach out to him. So thank you for that. I thought it was appropriate on this morning's primary day edition of Frankly Speaking. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, endorsements in the primary, please let me know. We've got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
In today's world, securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
7 reasons to buy certified pre-owned vehicles at Chilson Wilcox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
7-year or 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
3 months or 3,000-mile maximum care coverage.
Carfax Vehicle History Report.
Car rental allowance. 24-hour roadside assistance.
125-point vehicle inspection.
3-month Sirius XM radio.
Chilson Wilcox, selling cars a different way, the right way.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. vote on the daily question, and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back on this primary a day edition of Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson's studio with this heat. I'm sure many of you wished you would have listened in the winter when I recommended buying a pool to be prepared and getting a great deal from the fine folks at Hesselson's, but it's never too late. Give them a call today. Okay, let's go to some viewer comments. First up, Frank. Oh, hold on, Frank. Relax, because we want to thank Steuben Senior Services Fund for bringing us the comment reading section here on Frankly Speaking. First up, Frank, did you see where 2 Steuben County men were arrested for their part in a huge drug ring in New York City that was busted? I did see that. I wasn't familiar with the names, so I haven't seen the mugshots, but yes, I did see that. Thank you. Comment from a different viewer. Democrats push conflict with Russia through Ukraine and are scared of Iran. They poke the bear while hiding from a paper tiger. That's a fair point. Comment, 4 Canadian provinces are seriously considering breaking off from Canada. They are Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, and Yukon. Some or all could choose independence or become part of the USA. Regardless of the choice, Canada would no longer have any Pacific ports. Why doesn't Canada agree to fair trade with the USA instead of destroying themselves? Thank you very much. And Ken writes in, I like this, Ken. I'm going to try to do my best here. In support of the big, beautiful bill, I wrote a limerick that could help the sheeple understand the Democrats' philosophy on taxes, which they need to fund an ever-expanding bureaucracy. Here's a limerick. I'm going to give it a shot. How much tax would a Democrat tax if a Democrat was in charge of taxes? A Democrat would tax as much as a Democrat could tax if a Democrat was in charge of taxes. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. Got great comments coming in. Your thoughts on the primaries, your thoughts on Steve Sprague's great article and speech in front of the Steuben County Legislature, suggesting that we go to a county executive. Also, because it is primary day, locally and in the city, a shocking poll shows that Zoran Mamdani is overtaking Andrew Cuomo, or at the very least, it's a jump ball in New York City's ranked choice primary. Now, many of the media outlets are coming out in the city in support of Cuomo because they're concerned with some of the policies that Mamdani has been pushing, very far left socialist policies. Now, according to Errol Lewis, a columnist for New York Magazine, he says the political class is responsible for the man they're trying to stop, Zoran Mamdani. It is what happens when the status quo fails. We can go, it doesn't matter. It's a lose-lose for the people in New York City between the two that they pick. Now, AOC did endorse Mamdani, but today is the big mayoral race. Cuomo staying quiet. These last couple of weeks, we had that piece for you, I think on Friday's show, maybe Thursday's show, that he was kind of in his normal, arrogant fashion, his ego, His narcissism, he wasn't out campaigning because he thought it was a sure thing. Well, the polls have changed. In its hypothetical initial round of voting, Cuomo's lead shrinks to 3 percentage points, with 35% of likely Democrat voters supporting him, compared to 32% for Mamdani and 13% for City Comptroller Brad Lander. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And Ken, was it Ken? Yes, Ken mentioned earlier, New York again embraces nuclear power, with Governor Hochul pushing to build a new plant in upstate New York at an unyet named upstate location. So we don't know where this nuclear facility would be headed. The governor said that safety would be at the forefront of the state's planning and that the new plant would meet rigorous environmental standards. Quote, "This is not your grandparents' nuclear reactor. You're not going to see this in a movie starring Jane Fonda," referring to China syndrome. Nuclear power has enjoyed a resurgence of interest from states and companies in recent years, in part because the plants don't produce the greenhouse gases that are rapidly heating the planet. Wow, that's just how the New York Times presents that now, huh? They don't produce the greenhouse gases that are rapidly heating the planet. Guaranteed fact, according to the New York Times. And they can run all hours, unlike wind and solar power. So we may be seeing a nuclear power plant in our backyard. Speaking of New York, before I take a break and we move back to Iran and also some updates on Democrats, again, primary day, please let me know your thoughts. What are you feeling as you head into the vote? Is there someone you're endorsing, someone you hope to see win or lose? Or what do you think about the mayoral race? But in the gubernatorial race, no one has yet announced on the Republican side that they'll be running for governor. But Elise Stefanik, the GOP gubernatorial hopeful, brings her bid to Long Island. Well, she hasn't declared. That's a really misleading way of presenting that. But Elise Stefanik, the upstate MAGA Republican and close ally of President Trump, who is seriously contemplating a race for governor next year, is making the rounds on Long Island, the territory of a favorite son, who also is interested in the 2026 State House race. Stefanik last week was the headliner at a re-election fundraiser for Congressional District 1, Nick LaLota, and Insignia Steak and Sushi. She then swung over to Bull Smith's Tavern for a surprise appearance at a Get Out the Vote rally for Smithtown Supervisor Ed Wareham, who was locked in a tight GOP primary battle. Real leadership on display, posted Long Island Majority co-founder Kevin Smith on Facebook about Stefanik's drive-by. She is just trying to introduce herself. She's doing some local events, said one GOP operative. The upstate firebrand met with Suffolk County GOP Chair Jesse Garcia, who later introduced her and LaLota at the event, where tickets cost from $1,000 to $7,000 for a VIP reception. So anyway, making the rounds. No one's declared. I know. Every time I bring her up, people say, has she declared yet? She has not. No one has. But she is starting to make the rounds, looking serious. I hope the decision is made very soon, one way or the other. Now, we're going to talk. How am I doing? We got a couple things here about the Democrats that I want to get to as well. We'll talk a little bit more about the primaries. We got a little bit more here about Iran, trying to get updates, see if anything breaking news stories are popping up. I know Trump has now blamed Iran and Israel for breaking the ceasefire, saying they don't know what the blank they're doing. That happening just somewhat moments ago. And we had mentioned on the program early on that it looked as if the ceasefire was kind of back off because of Iran lobbing bombs at Israel. So Israel said that they would retaliate. Trump saying in the wee hours of the morning, saying, I think they both violated it, as he was leaving for NATO summit. We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the blank they're doing. Do you understand? He made clear he was not happy with Israel and had to get Israel to calm down now. I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay? He separately pleaded on Truth Social, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, it's a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. So some choice language from the president. Not happy. We'll give you some updates on that in the future. But right now we got to take a short break as I'm running late. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
When you're on, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Lease a brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox 1LT all-wheel drive with GM Lease Loyalty or Conquest bonus for only $359 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Chevrolet in Bath.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam with our picturesque view of historic Market Street on this primary day. Thank you to Boss Security in Horseheads for bringing us that view. I ran up and got some tea, so I didn't have a chance to read everybody's comments at a time. We'll get to those in the next segment, so I apologize, but that next segment's coming up very, very quickly because we're running late this morning. So again, as we mentioned right before break, President Trump, you could say not holding back, not happy that it looks like both Iran and Israel violated the ceasefire, or broke the ceasefire is probably a better way to put it, soon after it was declared, saying that they don't know what the blank they're doing, meaning either side. Not happy. Your thoughts on that? We reported on it early this morning. We didn't know what the president's reaction would be. We now do. He said he is not happy. Now it was announced last night that Israel was saying that Iran broke the ceasefire, and just making sure that that audio is not coming through. Okay, so Trump saying they've been fighting for so long, so hard, they don't know what the blank they're doing. Do you understand that? Israel, as soon as we made the deal, dropped a load of bombs of the likes I've never seen before. I'm not happy with Israel. I'm not happy with Iran either. Trump called CNN scum after the coverage of the B-2 bombers. He said the nuclear facilities struck in Iran were demolished. He continued to call CNN garbage with a gutless group of people. The people who run it ought to be ashamed. Also, he said, I got to get Israel to calm down. He said he believes both Iran and Israel violated the ceasefire. As soon as I get away from you, meaning the reporters, I'm going to stop it. That was before his trip to NATO. All right. Now, we were talking about the mayoral race in New York City, but also, again, I know I'm hammering home this point. I sound like a broken record, but today is primary day. So please, if you are in the following towns or cities in Chemung or Steuben, please make sure you get out and vote. If you have any questions about anything regarding the primary race, or if you'd like to make any endorsement, or just reach out and talk about it in general, I'd love to hear from you. So if you're in Chemung, in the town or city of Chemung, city of Elmira, Horseheads, Veneton, or Veteran. If you are in Steuben, in Bath, Cameron, Campbell, Canisteo, Caton, Cohocton, Town of Corning, Irwin, Hornby, Prattsburg, Rathbone, Thurston, Troopsburg, Tuscarora, or Wheeler, and you are a registered Republican, get out and vote. And I got a lot of great comments coming in. I'm not ignoring anybody's. Don't take it personal. I just didn't have a chance to read them. We'll read them after the next segment. All right. A couple issues that the Democrats are dealing with. You know, it's interesting when you have, and then we do have some updates on the Trump administration outside of Iran and Israel. But just about Iran and Israel for just a moment. Because, again, this has all changed. From the moment we got on to now, a lot has changed. And we knew that. We predicted that, essentially, by saying, you know, we heard that they broke the ceasefire. This kind of thing is going to happen. Where do we go? But there are still a couple pieces that I think are relevant in this conversation. And the first is by Glenn H. Reynolds. And he writes, Operation Midnight Hammer. This weekend's U.S. bombing raid on Iran's nuclear facilities was a revealing moment on multiple fronts. First, it confirmed that Iran's story about peaceful energy development, never very believable, was false. Nobody does peaceful research under hundreds of feet of rock and concrete. A former Russian president, Dmitry Medvedev, came out and admitted that Iran was building nuclear weapons. We knew that, but still. It also established that most of the anti-war crowd are just anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-West activists. And you're seeing that in some of the protests like we talked about in New York City. That they're not. You ever notice a lot of these anti-war protests are only anti-war when it is a Republican president? I'm not going to name names, but I was thinking of somebody that was pretty prominent back during the, very prominent and very active during the Bush years. And very anti-war. Full page ads in the paper, outside leading protests, very, very anti-war. And then Obama became president. With the drone attacks, Syria, Libya, not a peep from that person. Not a peep. No longer anti-war. It's amazing how the D and the R can change your position on war, right? Mobs carrying Hamas flags, excuse me, I almost said it in a very offbeat way, turned overnight into mobs carrying Mexican flags, then into mobs carrying Iranian flags. And they're the same mobs. And I highlighted the hypocrisy, and that was a point that a viewer made earlier on. And I highlighted the hypocrisy of Democratic politicians and pundits who cheered President Barack Obama's bombing attacks on Libya, Syria, Yemen, and others, and are now calling President Trump's bombing unconstitutional and a war crime. But the most jaw-dropping reveal isn't any of these things. It's that the Trump administration 2.0 is in fact highly competent, amazingly so. Yeah, and I know you're upset. And you're saying, well, why? Of course we knew they were competent. From Glenn Reynolds and the media's perspective on this, they have been pushing that this is incompetence, that these are the worst people that Trump could have picked, nothing but Fox News hosts. They have no knowledge. No, they're not prepared for it. And with all the Doge cuts, it's just a group of incompetent buffoons running the White House. That is what the media has been shoving down our throat now for 150 plus days. But as Glenn Reynolds said, Trump 2.0 is in fact highly competent, amazingly so. Think about it. The Iranian government was caught completely by surprise. The United States sent B-2 bombers to the other side of the globe, penetrated Iranian airspace without being noticed, dropped 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs down the ventilator shafts of deeply buried facilities, and exited the country without a shot fired at them. The world didn't know a thing until Trump announced it on Truth Social as the bombers were heading home. Impressively, there was no leaks about the operation. As one viewer said, you know, how they want Congress to be told. Did I not read that one? I feel like I might have. I maybe just read it and didn't read it on the air. But how is this supposed to be a secret mission if you tell Congress? It easily would have been blabbed. Yeah, someone had that, and I don't see it now in my list of comments. I apologize. Maybe we'll get something. Maybe I'll find it in the next break. Anyway. But there were no leaks about the operation. How basically they didn't give any Democrats details about what was coming. Take note. That's exactly right. Glenn Reynolds is exactly spot on. The reason there were no leaks is because they didn't give Democrats any details about what was coming. So take note of that. Remember that. In addition, Trump and the diplomatic apparatus kept the Iranians in the dark, feigning White House waffling even as military assets were in motion. He received unintentional help from Senator Chuck Schumer, who for some time has been pushing the TACO acronym. Yeah, that's just being so overused now. It's not even because, whether you like Trump or dislike Trump, man, politics gets annoying when they jump on a word, don't they? I mean, I read it earlier in a piece. I didn't want to criticize it because I like the piece, but I hate the term nothing burger. I think that shows That's one of the go-tos. There's certain words in politics where people think if they know it and they use it, it makes them brilliant at politics, and it's just so overused, like taco, which, if you're not familiar, means that Trump always chickens out. And so Chuck Schumer was using it in service of a storyline that Trump was all bluster, no follow-through. Yeah, he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to stop Iran. He doesn't. He's a wimp. So Chuck Schumer playing right into Trump's hands, so Trump could use that. The Iranians, apparently dumb enough to believe Democrats and the mainstream news media, but I repeat myself, were snookered. This followed a previous deception operation that made the Iranians think Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu were bickering ahead of the IDF's initial air raids. Actually, it was all a show. This is quite a contrast with Trump 1.0. The early months of the first Trump term were, let's just say, not marked by hyper-competence. Well, he had a lot of the establishment people in with him at that point. But anyway, the Democrats' over-the-top efforts to deny Trump the 2020 election worked at the cost of 4 years of President Autopen. But Trump, unlike most career politicians, is very good at learning from his mistakes, and they gave him 4 years to put together a team and a strategy for governing after 2024. Pete Hegseth has shown himself to be an extremely competent Secretary of Defense. Critics dismissively called him a Fox News anchor when he was nominated, ignoring his distinguished military record, but it shows now. Marco Rubio, who I confess struck me as a lightweight when I interviewed him over a decade ago, has shown himself to be a smart cookie and a tough one. J.D. Vance is pretty clearly the brainiest VP in my lifetime. I couldn't agree with what Glenn Reynolds is saying more. Trump's cabinet in general has been vigorous, shrewd, and aggressive since day one. And all kinds of problems that previous administrations called insoluble are now being solved. Our political establishment, at some level, wants things to be complicated and intractable. It boosts their influence. We were told before that addressing illegal immigration required legislation from Congress that would be complicated and require many interests to be greased. Trump just enforced the law, and illegal border crossing basically stopped. We were told that government spending was impossible to control. DOGE showed us otherwise, as the first of several recession bills work its way through Congress. Recession bills works its way through Congress. Obama told us we couldn't drill our way out of oil shortages, but Sarah Palin was right, and Trump's first term drill baby drill policies did just that, while not so coincidentally strengthening our hand in bringing about the Abraham Accords and in dealing with Iran today. Iran's nuclear program, we were told, was just something we'd have to live with. Not so. Turns out it's something that Iranians could die with. Competence in the American government, that's a welcome change, and it's about time. So Trump's Iran strike revealed a second surprise, a competent White House, and we knew it all along, but the media has tried to tell us otherwise. Okay, don't forget it's primary day, folks. What are you going to do? You're going to go out and vote? Who's your nominee? Who's your endorsed candidate? We'll read those. We'll read your comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will be right back.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. We are locally owned and insured and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. John's Tree Service, your source for all your tree needs, where customer satisfaction is our guarantee. Give us a call today at 607-377-6513.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about weed. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Touchdown! Grab your Fox Sports app today.
Stay up to date on Twin Twin Tiers Local News by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got it all on our website, daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. Follow us today at Big Fox News on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local. WY.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live on Primary Day, and we're in the Hesselson studio. Let's go to viewer comments. Viewer comments brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age a home. First up, have they passed all of Trump's cabinet posts yet? As far as I'm aware, yes. I think cabinet, different ambassadors and things like that, no. But cabinet, I believe he's completely up to date and full speed ahead. Next up, I cannot stomach Cuomo, and I have nothing good to say about him. But I have to say his opponent, I think, could be even more dangerous than he and Hochul. I think he's anti-American and a major threat. His opponent is really scary. He really is. Far, far left, an avowed socialist. I'm not saying anything that is not known. He was even on the way I understand it yesterday, Stephen Colbert's show, and still would not take a position in any way, shape, or form supporting of Israel. But right now they're calling it a jump ball. The New York Times calling it a jump ball. That it's basically tied ball game going into primary day, which is today. Comment from a different viewer. Trump has removed Russian influence in the Middle East. With the move on Iran, he is weakening Russia in Ukraine. Thank you. Another comment from a different viewer. Hochul shows us nearly every day how little she thinks about upstate New Yorkers. She knows how we vote largely, and now she wants to give us the radiation, and downstate New York can reap the energy benefits. She needs to go in 2026. Yes, that's why we've all been saying we wish, whether it's Mike Lawler, whether it's Elise Stefanik, I would say overwhelmingly on this program, Elise Stefanik is the favorite if we do this kind of anecdotal poll. But we need someone to declare, and sooner rather than later. It can't be after this Labor Day type thing, or it's got to be soon. Okay. Mark writes in, Hochul won't allow fracking, but wants to build a nuclear power plant. That's a great target for foreign communist countries. Thank you, Mark. Ken writes in, I am 100% on board with expanding our nuclear power generation across the country. It generates electricity, rain or shine, and puts hardworking people to work in good-paying jobs. It does have some problems, like being targets for terrorist attacks and issues with safety disposing of the spent fuel, but these issues can be worked around. That said, we need to understand that this is not a bridge to an all-electric country. It's a great source of electricity for homes and businesses, fed through our existing infrastructure. While some electric vehicles are certainly in our future, we should not throw away the vast, cheaper energy sources that are under our feet. We need those fossil fuels as an economic bridge, while other reliable and economical, friendly sources of energy are developed, and to buy time to update our infrastructure. Thank you, Ken. I'm sorry I didn't do the best job reading that. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. All right, I see what you're doing here. We're going to do it. Like my mother told me that, like, if I stayed in school, like, I could be like a lawyer or like the congresswoman, excuse me. And like, it's like you can be anything in America, even if you don't have anything intelligent to say. And if you are just tuning in, you're probably very confused by that statement. Well, member of the House of Representatives, member of Congress, Representative Jasmine Crockett was talking about the Iran situation. I'll keep the comment thing up there. And she said, and I quote, this is Representative Jasmine Crockett, and remember, a rising star in the Democrat Party, really very popular right now. And I quote, I don't really have any good answers for you, except for the fact that legitimately everything that he does is against the law. He just breaks the law. Thank you very much, Representative Jasmine Crockett. Rich Lowry says that Trump seals his president. I don't want to use the cuss word that Lowry uses, so how can I say it? President Tough Guy, maybe? Doesn't sound as good. Cred. and makes the United States foes think twice. The word tough guy, which is not the word Lowry uses, was bandied about a lot after the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump last year. Famously, the bloody Republican candidate raised his fist in defiance. In a different context, that same pungent word applies to his 2 a.m. strike on Iran nuclear facilities. Trump, the TV star, has a knack for the theatrical and grand gesture. That obviously matters in domestic politics, but in international affairs too, where projecting strength and command are just as important. We don't know where the war heads from here and need to learn more about the damage that was inflicted. Still, it was an operation with a distinct and very useful element of Trump's tough guy attitude. It's not that Trump always follows through on his threats. He doesn't, and his on and off Liberation Day tariffs are ongoing examples of backing off and recalibrating. But when he makes good on a threat, he leaves a mark. He said how foreign adversaries in his first term didn't always believe his threats, 100%. They might believe him some percentage less than that, but it'll still be enough to make them wonder. After this, whatever that number is, just went up another 30% or so. And the idea is this leaves our adversaries on guard. The Iranians might believe this is all merely bluster, but they need to take it more seriously than only a couple of days ago. Such is the effect of Trump's tough guy move, and we should hope it's being felt not just in Tehran, but in every capital of a country that wishes us harm. All right, we got to take a short break. Wow, more comments coming. I love it. Keep the comments coming on this primary day. You going out and voting? If anybody voted, please let me know how it went. And we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will be right back.
Your Elmira Pioneers are at home this Friday at historic Dunfield. Friday, June 27th, it's free Hilliard Baseball Night. Come see what all the excitement is about. Friday, June 27th, free Hilliard Baseballs. Get your tickets early. Call 734-2690. Your Elmira Pioneers, a baseball tradition since 1888.
The world's poorest places. Children with cleft conditions live in darkness and shame. They're shunned, outcast, living in pain. You can reach out and change the life of a suffering child right now. A surgery that takes as little as 45 minutes. And your act of love can change a child's life forever. Please call or visit operationsmile.org now. Thousands of children are waiting.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDC. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on primary day. Do not forget to go out and vote, and we'll read the areas participating, for lack of a better term. All the primaries today are for Republican voters only, so keep that in mind. That's the nature of it. Okay. And if you are just joining us, Trump is blaming Iran and Israel for breaking the ceasefire. Okay, let's go to viewer comments. Viewer comments brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund. First up, Hochul working with Iran for enriched fuel for her nuke plant? Just joking. All right, thank you. Ken writes in, by the way, did you hear that Elmira had a brownout this morning? More confirmation that our infrastructure is not up to increasing the electrical load on it with electric vehicles. Oh, I couldn't agree more. And just turning everything electric. That's what Hochul wants in general. And final comment for this section. Does anyone realize oil is used not only for gas, but for plastic and lubricant? Yep. Thank you. It would be nearly impossible to completely escape oil. Trump claims a forever peace is in peace in the land of forever wars, but is it all one big illusion, Stephen Collinson said. So much for the quagmire. Donald Trump seems to have emerged from the worst crisis in America's estrangement with Iran's Islamic Republic with a win because of the ceasefire. But of course, they're going to turn on him because Israel and Iran already broke that ceasefire. All right, let's move along here. I just had a couple updates on Democrats. We'll get back to that if anything breaking happens. We don't have a lot of time left in this program. This has been a common theme that we've had for you lately. New York Times reported on it. Others have reported on it a lot too. But the New York Times kind of shocked us when they reported on it, which is that the Democrat Party currently is in kind of behind the scenes, kind of in chaos mode. They don't have a lot of money. The head of it, Ken Martin, not doing an effective job. People are very critical of him. He's not being enough of the resistance. Well, billionaire Democrat donors, including Barry Diller and Michael Bloomberg, are refusing to fork over more cash for now to the party's main fundraising committee because there's now a broad consensus it's ineffectual, sources said. And remember, Ken Martin calling up on that phone call that was leaked, crying that no one was taking him seriously, that more people were focused on David Hogg. Media mogul Diller told the Post last week, for a variety of reasons, I have no intention of donating to the DNC. Diller, chairman of such holdings as the internet and media behemoth IAC, seethed in his just-released memoir, Who Knew?, that former President Joe Biden and his administration used a bait-and-switch tactic when it came to his promise of restoring the soul of the nation. Quote, I think the biggest crime of the Biden administration is that it came in with a pledge to restore a more civilized, selfless, and uplifting manner of governance, and instead let us all down with its progressive elitism, personal ego, and cynical behavior. Such a shame. Well, just keep in mind, during the 2023-2024 election cycle, Bloomberg gave $413,000 to the DNC. Diller donated $330,000, and largely contributed $133,400. Looking to back off from the cash cows are looking to back off. But speaking of the Democrat Party, we got two other updates on that, and then we're going to wrap up today's. Well, no, I'll go quickly with this. We learned, and I think we ran out of time on Friday, but we learned during the riots in LA, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who was considered a front runner for the California, or for the presidential race, got distracted with so many people waving this morning. He's one of the kind of, I would say probably the number one Democrat for president right now. Wouldn't you? Who would you think? But it's probably Gavin Newsom. Anyway, as riots engulfed Los Angeles and mobs vandalized public buildings, incinerated vehicles, and assaulted law enforcement officers, Gavin Newsom was enjoying a swanky wine tasting party in Napa Valley, according to City Journal's Christopher F. Rufo and Ryan Thorpe. The governor was photographed at the June 7th charity fundraiser. So there you go. Now, if you recall, back in November of 2020, he had a feast with political allies at the Michelin-starred French Laundry, even as he had instructed California residents to avoid getting together with family for the approaching Thanksgiving holiday because of COVID, remember? This time it was wine rather than food that caught Newsom's attention, but the principle is the same. Newsom sips Cabernet while his state burns. By the way, Hunter Biden is being sued over $50,000 in unpaid legal bills, including in his Delaware gun case. This is a breach of contract action against Mr. Biden for unpaid legal fees, substantially in excess of $50,000. He went through a lot of money. All right. We're going to wrap up today's edition. When we come back, get your last-minute comments, your last-minute questions about the primaries. Remember, primary voting is now open. It began at 6 a.m. It runs till 9 p.m. Your thoughts? Are you going to get out and vote? Please don't forget. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Are you having trouble hearing your TV or listening to conversations in loud spaces? Then it might be time to consider Nano hearing aids. Don't mistake Nanos for cheap amplifiers. Nanos are FDA-registered OTC hearing aids, which means no more having to go to a doctor and spend thousands. Nano hearing aids are now offering $100 off through this special TV offer. Order right now and get 2 CIC rechargeable hearing aids for only $297. And if you're not happy, return them for a full refund.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Election Day, primary Election Day. We're going to read exactly who needs to vote here in just a moment. Mark writes in, voting for Eberlin for Hornby. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Supreme Court does allow Trump to resume deporting migrants to third countries. The Supreme Court ruled Monday that the Trump administration can resume deporting migrants to countries other than their home nation with limited notice. In a 6-3 decision that broke down along ideological lines, the justices stayed an April ruling by a Boston federal judge that stymied the rapid deportation efforts. The conservative majority did not provide a rationale for their ruling, but liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor penned a scathing 19-page dissent that was joined by fellow liberals Lena Kagan and KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson. In matters of life and death, it is best to proceed with caution, Sotomayor wrote. In this case, the government took the opposite approach. Okay, so that was a big breaking story. Also, Trump administration says Kilmar Abrego Garcia will never go free on American soil. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a dangerous criminal illegal alien. Tricia McLaughlin, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, said, "We have said it for months, and it remains true to this day. He will never go free on American soil." All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you for all the comments, all the waves this morning. It is, you got to hear me lecture one last time, it is primary day. Please get out and vote. As we talked about with the former Congressman and current Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski on Friday's program, your vote always matters. It always counts. But this has such important implications because unfortunately, so few people get out and vote in the primary. So please don't be one of those people that sits at home and lets others make the choices for you, because in these Republican primaries, not always the case, but very, very often in our area, if you win the Republican primary, you're pretty much set for the general election. That is not always the case, but in many instances. These all have some very serious implications for Chemung County and Steuben County. We try to do our best. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished here on this program with interviewing as many candidates as possible, those that reached out to me, and I'm hoping that you're going in the booth today the most informed as you can possibly be. Now, again, the polls are now open, and they run till 9 p.m. tonight. Tomorrow we will cover the results right here on Frankly Speaking, so make sure you tune in for that. But please do not forget to vote. Tie a string on your finger, set an alarm on your phone, write it in your calendar. Today is primary day for the following towns. If you are a Republican in these following towns, you need to vote today: Bath, Cameron, Campbell, Canisteo, Caton, Cohocton, the town of Corning, Irwin, Hornby, Prattsburg, Rathbone, Thurston, Troopsburg, Tuscarora, and Wheeler. That's Steuben County. And in Chemung County, Chemung, the city of Elmira, Horseheads, Van Etten, and Veteran. You all have important votes today, so get out and vote. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you to everybody who joined us. We'll be back tomorrow morning bright and early with Frankly Speaking. I look forward to it already. Happy primary day.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tubs and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.